Hi, and welcome to Coastal Conservative News, CCN. My name's Michelle Posey.
And I'm Allie Leger. Thanks so much for joining us today. Congressman Greg Steube of Florida District 17 took to social media to discuss how the New Year's Eve attack in New Orleans affected those in his district. There were two women from Fort Myers who were hospitalized and are currently sitting in the ICU following the attacks. This is just a huge showing of the failures, the catastrophic failures that we've been seeing, not just here in Florida, but everywhere across the nation.
Across the nation. I mean, we've talked about on other shows the California wildfires. This is what happens when we elect people to office and they actually don't do their job. It's now hit us right here at home in our district. Some of the things that I've been reading, guys, are that even the New Orleans sheriff and mayor they had these barricades, Allie, that would have stopped traffic from coming down the road. She said, "Oh, we had them, but I didn't remember that we had them. That's why I didn't bring them out." They had coolers. Video surveillance now shows video footage of the assailant moving these coolers throughout Bourbon Street that were wired with explosive devices. So this was a huge mishap, I think, by everybody involved in New Orleans.
Oh my gosh! It just points to, again, just the amount of lack of integrity, right? The lack of leadership that we are currently seeing all the way from the top, which is the presidency, all the way down to our county levels in almost every single state that we're seeing. That's right. It is just, it's absolutely awful.
We keep saying 10 more days, guys, 10 more days. But listen, right here in the state of Florida, we have to give a shout out. Miami-Dade Sheriff, her name is Rosie Cordero Stutz. She's actually stepping up already publicly and saying she's going to assist the Trump administration in the mass deportations that will be taking place. I think this is amazing. Of course, Florida should be leading the way.
Absolutely. And while we need to understand that sheriffs are constitutional, it is a constitutional office. They do take an oath to protect and preserve the Constitution and to abide by it. And it is very important that our sheriffs take an active role to making sure that they are standing in the way between tyranny and oppression and making sure that the people that they serve are safe. And so this participating in the deportation efforts of President Trump is going to be very effective when we have all of our sheriffs doing what they are supposed to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that reminds me, I think we should all make sure whatever county you are watching this from here in the state of Florida, the free state of Florida, make sure that you engage with your sheriff and ask the question, how are they going to assist the Trump administration? Obviously, Miami-Dade is leading the way. We'll see what the rest of the state does. We should all jump on board.
Absolutely. And also, we would like to just make sure that we give our prayers and thoughts to those two women out in Fort Myers to make sure that they have a full recovery.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
There's something in the news about NASA. Now, we're laughing because I didn't know NASA's headquarters were in D.C. Did you?
I don't think I did either, to be honest with you. But DeSantis went to, I believe it was a press conference he had, and he urged NASA to come to Florida. I mean, we already have the Kennedy Space Center. NASA's headquarters is in D.C. I didn't realize that it was there. Neither did you. I don't think any of our listeners did either. When you think of NASA, what do you think of?
When I think of NASA, I think of either Houston, we have a problem.
Right.
And I also think of Kennedy Space Center.
At our Space Coast. I mean, I think it's going to be a fantastic addition. I mean, what kind of field trip would that be to take our children to the Space Coast to see NASA headquarters?
And I think this is also part, Allie, of this decentralization that hopefully we'll see of these agencies. Get them out of their echo chamber in D.C. I would love to see. Bring them down to Florida. We'll straighten them out.
Yes, absolutely.
That's exciting. Guys, another thing that's breaking here in the state of Florida, we are paying close attention to, is this Florida grand jury. Obviously, they've come out now with some recommendations here in the state of Florida. Basically, their findings are, buckle up. We could have told you this a few years ago, but this is official now through the Florida grand jury. Big Pharma engaged in a pattern of, quote, deceptive and obfuscatory behavior while pushing COVID-19, the treatment, the vaccines, all while pharma was making billions. So this Florida grand jury has come out and said, listen, we're making a number of recommendations to DeSantis. What do you think DeSantis is going to do? Do you see him acting on this sooner rather than later?
Oh, hopefully. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think he has been very strong against the pharmaceutical cartel and in the way that they have behaved with the COVID-19. I don't even want to call it a vaccine with the COVID-19
Right.
gene therapy. Our own Surgeon General, Latipo,
Joseph
Latipo came out and has been very strong about pulling this quote unquote vaccination off of the market because of the lack of proper studies, the lack of informed consent, the lack of essentially information that that the people have with this vaccine. So I'm very interested to keep an eye on this, and of course here at CCN we will always make sure that we let you know when we find out.
Absolutely. One last thing I want to touch on, being that we have just a little bit more time here. Did you see where the ACLU is filing suit against DeSantis for, I got to read this.
Oh boy.
They're saying that he's not abiding by his constitutional authority and not holding these special elections to fill one state Senate seat and one state House seat. This is, of course, the same ACLU that I thought it was funny. They had no problem with them just bypassing the presidential primary and putting, Kamala Harris on the Democrat ticket. So ACLU versus
rules
DeSantis.
For me, not for thee. Is that what we're going with now, ACLU? Listen, it is absolutely constitutional for our governor to appoint a senator to Marco Rubio's seat. He is well within his right, well within his constitutional right, well within his gubernatorial rights to appoint someone to fill that position. So I would take a seat, ACLU.
Absolutely, guys. Keep it locked here on CCN for all the latest on these topics.
So Joey is our middle child. We have 3 kids. He's 13 years old, and he was born with a chromosome deletion, and he was diagnosed with autism and intellectual disability. When he was 8 years old, he was diagnosed with epilepsy, and he started having seizures almost once a week. When Vic told us about this treatment, and since he had his first treatment, he hasn't had a seizure. He's been seizure-free for over 3 months, and it's been a miracle, really.
I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to work on the level that it did, but I can say now, without a doubt, it really, really works. Nothing else has worked as good as this.
Right. He's been much happier. He's had a lot more energy. He's just been in a positive mood, talking more.
Interacting more, and just more vocal, and also very funny.
Right, and Joey will always be Joey. We love Joey the way he is. We just want him to be happy and healthy. He taught me patience, true unconditional love.
Acceptance,
yeah, right.
Joey's like an angel.
He is an angel.
Hi guys, welcome to Political Pulse here on CCN. We have a wonderful guest joining us remotely today. This is David Callen. David is joining us right from Orlando, where the RPOF is meeting to have their annual meeting. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful. For those of you that don't know, David Callen is the REC chair for Charlotte County.
So you are the chair of the REC at Charlotte County, and now you're running for RPOF chair. Why?
I've been involved with the REC for a number of years, as well as a number of other organizations. While I'm not a member of the FRA, I know a lot of folks there, but I have been members of the RLC, the Republican Liberty Caucus, in the past. And when I saw this civil war brewing here with the Republican Party and the FRA, a number of our members at our REC stepped back and said, well, we're not going to participate anymore. And it's really creating a civil war internally here for the party, that if you're that concerned about using the Republican name is an ideal. It's a belief system of something better, Christian Judeo values, conservative, fiscally conservative, less regulation, pro-growth. And when you start to stifle your members or throw them out, or other organizations that they're associated remove it, you start to remove your boots on the ground. You start to alienate individuals within your own party. And that's never a good place to take an organization.
That is so true. That is so true.
I'm glad that you decided to throw your hat in the ring. So we wish you lots of luck, because it sounds like you understand the principles of being a Republican and understanding what it means to just have sovereignty and liberty and having the power of grassroots behind a movement.
That's absolutely true. I want to know, David, tell us a little bit about, obviously you spoke a little bit about the division that's going on within the Republican Party, even here in Florida. So what does that vision look like for a Republican Party under your direction?
So day one, we're going to stop the lawsuits with the FRA. We're going to welcome our friends over there back into the fold. When you look at most of our RECs throughout the state, our executive committees, about 40% of them are made up of other organizations that also participate in our executive committees. And as we alienate those, we're removing most of the boots on the ground. And again, having been a candidate for office earlier this year, past year, knowing that the bulk of the people that actually show up, go door to door, hand out flyers, sign wave, get involved, or donate are the FRA, the RLC. They are the movers and shakers, especially here in where I'm at in Charlotte County. We are a retirement community. So we've got a lot of elderly folks. So when we find that handful of individuals that are younger, very enthusiastic and want to be involved, but they also want to be involved in multiple organizations, to alienate them and throw them out, just like the votes that just happened with our REC reorganizations in December, as per our RPOF rules. A lot of folks were prevented from voting because they were affiliated with these other organizations where they were not allowed in. So that is one of those visions I have, is to bring them back into the fold, stop this civil war, and get back to the business of the Republican Party, and that's being conservatives and putting together good quality candidates and values.
I love that. It's like united, we win, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, we have to operate that way. Otherwise, we lose the footing that we currently have here in Florida and across the nation. So, what are some of your other aspects of things that you would like to accomplish as the RPOF chair?
So I want us to really start looking at some of our best and brightest. And while we have a group of establishment politicians, we've also got to look at some of these grassroots folks coming out that may be new ideas, innovative ways to look at how we handle things, whether it's environmental issues, whether it's financial issues, energy issues. And by being able to take those kind of candidates that normally would be overlooked because of an establishment candidate, we've really got to start to take that step and look at these new bright minds to say,
Right.
Is the way we've done business in the past the best way to do it? And is bringing these folks into the fold and putting our arm around them and helping them forward, whether it's in a political career. That's what we've really got to start looking at. We need quality individuals to step up for office. So I think we all know politicians kind of go along with car dealers and lawyers. We're happy with them. And we've got to change that concept to say, we're working for you and we're working to find quality people for you so that we can govern responsibly and economically sound.
Oh, that sounds really, really good. I'm so excited that we have somebody like you running and challenging the current RPF leadership, Evan Power, who's really been very divisive. Let me ask you, for all of our viewers that are watching this across the state of Florida, what can we do, David, to help you? I know they're voting on the leadership as well as Rule 1A1 and 1A2 tomorrow, Saturday, in Orlando. What can we do as grassroots conservatives to help you?
Call your state committee people and call your chairman and call your legislators and let them know that you need to take a little autonomy back to your local counties. So some of these rules need to be removed. You need what's good for one county might not be good for another. So our local RECs need a little bit more self-control going on. So rather than one size fits all, as well as let them know to get out and vote for somebody who's going to take away the divisiveness, somebody who's going to bring some sense and sensibility back to it and unify the party so that we can be Florida strong and Republican strong.
Push forward the America First agenda, of course. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, this is David Callen. He is candidate for RPOF chair. I'm so glad that you joined us here on Coastal Conservative News. Guys, just a quick heads up. David is obviously already there, but we are through CCN and also the Hollow Alliance. We are coupling with the Florida Republican Assembly to have a wonderful rally in Orlando outside the Rosen Plaza tomorrow, Saturday, at 9 a.m. If you're in the area, guys, if you want to come out and have a good time with other grassroots conservatives and show your support for candidate David Callen, please come out and join us. David, thank you so much. We appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you. You ladies have a great day.
Thank you too.
Imagine rewinding to 2020.
Parents obviously can equip their kid to go to school however they want, but there shouldn't be any coercive mandates.
Local school board members made a firm decision enforcing mandates that disregarded the voices of concerned parents.
This virus is going after our young children.
The emergency school board meeting in Sarasota dissolved into chaos as the board discussed mandating masks for students, which ultimately passed tonight.
Refusing to back down, thousands gathered at the Hollow, determined to secure exemptions for their kids. With the support of dedicated doctors, they navigated every path to shield their children from mandates. Yet, despite these united efforts, a darker challenge surfaced. Doctors who issued exemptions became targets, some even losing their jobs for standing by their convictions. That's when the decision was made, a bold new vision to create a sanctuary for children's health and a support system for parents' rights. Thus, We the People Health and Wellness Center was born, founded on a mission to serve, to support, and to protect. This vision has since expanded, aligning with the Make America Healthy Again movement and incorporating the most advanced treatment modalities. Additionally, We the People Health and Wellness Center has launched a series of transformative community-based events, each featuring a trusted expert. In December, Dr. Joseph Ladapo spoke about his new book to a packed audience. Next, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny in an intimate lunch and learn. Still to come, Dr. Pierre Corey, Dr. Brian Artis, plus others. The new management, doctors, and staff of We the People Health and Wellness Center stand with you, ensuring that no parent will ever have to face medical tyranny alone again. We are here to empower, to inform, and to support you for a healthier community.
All right. So I want to welcome to Coastal Conservative News, CCN, not the other CNN. I want to welcome Robin Lumb. Robin, thank you so much for joining us here on CCN. We like to discuss a lot of our local politics, especially in our county and statewide. So I thought you were a great person to bring on today. You've got an interesting story and an interesting court case now going on with the Republican Party of Florida. Now, you're a MAGA Republican, right? So explain to me a little bit about your backstory here with the Republican Party and what is going on right now that you've had to actually file suit against the RPOF.
Well, I've been involved in Republican Party politics for several decades, on and off. I was first appointed to the Duval County Republican Executive Committee in 2004, and along with a lot of Republicans, found the Trump phenomenon to be captivating. It was I for so many years. In fact, I completely misread the electorate in 2016. I didn't think I had been marinating so long in polling numbers and statistics and the history of presidential elections that I didn't really understand that so many people were absolutely thrilled to have somebody like a Donald Trump standing up for them, which is basically what Republican voters want. They want leaders who will stand up for them, who will speak out, who will defend conservative principles. And Donald Trump is not afraid of anybody. He is remarkable. He is absolutely a phenomenon in American history.
And you think to most conservative Republicans, most grassroots Republicans across the state and across the country, it's a breath of fresh air. But what I noticed myself, even, I belong to the local Republican Executive Committee. Well, right now I'm suspended, but I do belong to them. I try to get out through the grassroots and do a lot. You would think that kind of momentum would be welcomed, especially in the free state of Florida. But what we've found out in having dual membership with the Florida Republican Assembly is not so much. Not all not all Republicans were happy to have us MAGA Republicans on board. Would you say that?
Well, I would say that most Republican voters are, of course, not informed on this issue, and it's the leadership of the Republican Party that wants to exert total control over Republican Party politics, and they do that by controlling the use of the word Republican. So if your viewers don't understand this, the Republican Party's official legal position is, and this is from a cease and desist letter that I received several months ago, that the term Republican is its official property. That if you and I were to organize a group called Republicans Against Government Corruption, we would have to go to Evan Power and get what they call a conditional charter, which, according to the rules of the Republican Party, can be revoked by the chairman at any time for any reason without notice at his sole discretion. Now, who is going to invest their time, money, and resources in building an organization like the FRA if their right to operate is going to be could be revoked at any time if you offend the wrong person? So that's their legal position. That was the basis of the grievance that was filed against me by the party chairman in Duval County, Dean Black, back in July, because I was the local president of the Duval County Republican Assembly, which we had established in early March. And on that basis, his grievance was that I had violated Rule 1A1 of the RPOF's Party Rules of Procedure, which prohibits any group or of persons or any organization from using the Republican Party name, abbreviation, or symbol. Well, it's been my contention all along that the word Republican is not the name of the Republican Party of Florida. There is no party operating in Florida called Republican. And the Republican Party of Florida conveniently ignores this fact. And that is one of the primary points of contention. The word Republican is generic in nature. It's not subject to trademark, and has been in common use in the United States as a partisan identifier since the founding of the Republican Party in 1854.
Right. And so by citing these two new rules, Rule 1A1 and 1A2, which I'm assuming a lot of our viewers might not know, this is something that Evan Power, the chair of the Republican Party of Florida, has kind of put out this new rule. I think it was in May of 2024, if I'm not.
Yeah, May 4th of 2024, the executive board, which actually runs the Republican Party of Florida, it's not the state executive committee. The state executive committee just rubber stamps whatever the executive board does.
Right.
But the executive board gathered and voted to adopt this new Rule 1, which says that any organization deemed to be in violation of Florida Statute 103.081, nobody can be a member of an REC that's deemed to be in violation of that statute. And that's the statute that says political parties have the exclusive right to their name, abbreviation, and symbol. And if I can give you a little bit of history on that, in 1990, the Republican Party of Florida filed with the Secretary of State, which is what's required under that statute. They filed exactly what you and I would expect them to file, which is their name, Republican Party of Florida, their abbreviation, RPOF, and their symbol, which at the time was that little stylized Republican elephant superimposed over a map of the state of Florida. And that's what you would expect them to do. It's a one sheet of paper. I've got the document. It's a piece of letterhead. 9 years later, about 45 days after they lost a case in Duval County, where the judge specifically said use of the term Republican is not an infringement on the party name Republican Party of Florida. So that was a ruling by Judge Henry Davis, just happened to take place here in the Fourth Circuit. So about 45 days later, the Republican Party of Florida makes its second filing with the Secretary of State under 103.081. And this time they list the word Republican. And from that point forward, they began insisting that the word Republican was their property and was in effect an alternate name of the Republican Party of Florida, which is nonsensical. So if I were to say to you Republican, the first thing that pops into your head isn't the Republican Party of Florida.
No.
There is no political party called Republican. And for them to deny the use of that term to registered Republican voters who want to form independent organizations like the FRA, free from the authority and control of the RPOF, that's the origin of this conflict. On that basis, they removed me.
And this is funny because in my minimal brain here, I'm going, so unless they claim the same ownership over the and of and party. What makes Republicans the thing that they think they can own or they can own?
Well, the key is the use of the term party. So
Yeah.
if you're okay, so they're a political party. They're organized under 103.091, which authorizes the major parties to organize state executive committees. And further on in that statute, it provides for the election of local precinct committee men and committee women during Republican primary elections and presidential election years. So they're a political party. They're entitled to their name, which is Republican Party of Florida. I'm not allowed to go out and say, if I'm not affiliated with the Republican Party of Florida, I can't pretend that I am. I can't make that representation. And frankly, I don't want to. That's not our goal. Our goal here in Duval County, because we had such a terrible local Republican executive committee leadership, it was just awful. That we wanted to set up an organization that was separate and apart, because we wanted to have a voice in primary elections, and we wanted to be have the credibility of being able to criticize the local leadership of the Republican Party, which, like I said, was terrible.
Right.
And by the way, has been replaced. The establishment got booted out of office back on December 9th.
I think it's important that our viewers understand, yes, this takes place in other states too, but specifically here in the state of Florida, you have the Republican Party of Florida, sort of the umbrella organization that we typically bob and weave through to be able to do things here in the Republican Party. Every district, every county has your own Republican executive committee, precinct committee men and women who, for the most part, unless there's a lot of vacancies in the precinct, are usually voted on by you, the people, to be able to represent in the Republican executive committee. So what's actually happened, not only to Robin, but many others, hundreds across the state, is that we are now being told that because of this new rule, that the executive board for the Republican Party of Florida, under the direction of Evan Power, because of this rule that they've implemented, basically the FRA, the Florida Republican Assembly, is like persona non grata. So you can't play with them and be on the REC at the same time. You can't do both. And this makes a lot of us disenfranchised, those of us that wanted to volunteer through the Republican Party and get involved in primaries in the general election. The other thing that I find interesting is that a lot of this divergence took place, in my opinion, Robin, when Evan Power and the Republican Party of Florida wanted to push Donald Trump into signing a loyalty oath. That basically, if he wasn't the nominee, then he wouldn't run on any other party. He made it very clear. Trump made it very clear in his phenomenal Trump way that he wasn't going to do that. And the FRA, the Florida Republican Assembly, did a great job of bringing people together while they were having this meeting for the Republican Party of Florida and put pressure and sign wave and do all the things to say, listen, we don't want this. And they actually voted it down. They chose not to do the loyalty oath. So when an organization like the Florida Republican Assembly has that kind of collaborative power, I think the RPOF sees that as a challenge when actually we should be working as a conduit parallel to each other to get this done. This could be amazing in the state of Florida, but as you found out, they really didn't want to do that. So then you went ahead and followed suit. Tell me a little bit about that.
I filed a complaint, what they call a verified complaint, which is for declaratory judgment back on November 21st. And I also sought a temporary injunction that would restore me to my position on the Duval County Republican Executive Committee. And the basis for that complaint was that I had been unlawfully removed from the Duval County Republican Executive Committee. One of the interesting things about my case is that their grievance committee has its own established rules of procedure. And in order to remove me, they had to waive their rules of procedure. They would have been precluded from even considering the grievance within 90 days of an election. So the grievance was filed on July 26th, which was within 90 days of the primary, which then in turn was within 90 days of the November election. So, and there's another rule too that applies, but so they weren't even supposed to consider the grievance. So I decided I would file suit, and I would challenge them on their claim also that the word Republican is their exclusive property, which I think is a legal absurdity.
Absolutely. I agree with you. You know, we are putting together a call to action taking place. Today's Friday, so taking place tomorrow, Saturday, January 11th. Obviously, the Republican Party of Florida is convening in Orlando to vote on these two rules, Rule 1A1 and 1A2. And obviously, we're making a plea to our state committee men and women, as well as our REC chairs across the state, to please vote this down. Do not adopt this measure. You're actually alienating not only all of your workhorse, the grassroots Republicans, but also the idea that the FRA doesn't replace the RPOF. They kind of need to work in collaboration, at least chasing.
They should. We're all Republicans. And by the way, the Republican Party of Florida has no authority to interpret Florida statutes. So this new Rule 1A2 is their interpretation of Florida Statute 103.0812. Yes. Which says that they have control over their name, their abbreviation, and their symbol. Well, Republican is not their name. It's not. Neither is it an abbreviation. So the notion that they have the authority to interpret and enforce Florida statutes that's another area in which we're challenging the RPOF.
And the main issue there too is statute 103.081. It's like Evan Power and the RPOF completely negated the second paragraph, last sentence that says, unless the organization has been in effect in the state of Florida.
Exactly.
Your grandfather.
So yeah, there are several lines of argument that we have in our lawsuit, but one of the ones, and I think it's almost a slam dunk, is that we qualify for the exemption. Organizations that have been in existence for 10 years or more, and not necessarily as corporations, but have been in existence for 10 years or more, are statutorily exempt under 103.0812. And the FRA has been around since 1998. And this has repeatedly been brought up to the RPOF, and they have avoided answering the question. And speaking of avoiding answering questions, by the way, I want your viewers to understand, I have made repeated attempts to try to get Evan Power to explain how they intended to enforce Rule 1A2. I sent certified letters. I haven't been involved in email exchanges. I've peppered the local leadership with that question prior to the organizational meeting in December, and they refused to answer. They would never tell us how they were going to enforce that rule.
And this is part of the atrocity that's happening here in the state of Florida. Although, Robin, I'm hearing it echoed in other states in their own way. What our ask for is to really make sure that the people understand that the Republican Party of Florida, in our opinion, is weaponizing the word Republican. They're also violating Florida statute. And unfortunately, many committee men and women and REC chairs across the state may not be aware that this is happening. So I want to, again, let our viewers know that they can always go to coastalconservativenews.com. We have a lot of this information, including the literature tied to Robin's case there, if you want to read it for yourself. But Robin, can you let our viewers know where they can get in touch with you if they have any questions, or if they want to be able to support what you're doing going forward?
Frankly, I could use some help with the attorney's fees, because the FRA is paying. By the way, the FRA joined my lawsuit on December 20th. So the FRA is now, the RPOF had dragged its feet on responding to my initial complaint. And then we were able to file what they call an amended complaint, which makes the FRA an additional plaintiff. But in my case, I'm still responsible for my legal fees. So if anybody wanted to help, that would be great. But you can reach me at robinlum@primaxmedia.com. And that's spelled PRIMAX, media, like a media company.com.
Okay, we'll make sure that we get that information out on our website as well, Robin. That way people can make sure that they show their support. But guys, this is your Republican Party. Don't get too comfortable with the inauguration coming up of Donald J. Trump. You have to embark on your inner Trump, or your kind of inner Trump light, and be able to get out in your states and in your districts and in your counties and make sure that we carry this America First message to unite our party, obviously, but to make sure that we are falling under the right.
They're trying to steal your party from you. That's what it gets down to. They're trying to steal your party from you, and you need to say something.
Exactly. Robin and I were joking just before we came on air, and I said, lots of times as a conservative, you get on social media, you're like a keyboard warrior, you're saying things, and people from the left are attacking you. I have never heard anybody from the Democrat side, the left side, ever attack Evan Power, the Republican Party of Florida chair. And I think it's more telling not who your friends are, but sometimes who your enemies aren't. That's all I'm going to say here, Robin. We wish you the best, and we're going to keep.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you for the chance to speak to your audience.
Absolutely. We'll have more updates as this continues, guys. Also, go to coastalconservativenews.com. We'll have more updates there. Thank you, Robin, for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
the verse of the week. 1 Timothy 4:12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity.
Have a blessed day. See you next Friday. Bye.
Hi guys, this is Fadana with CCN News, where we record the news to you locally and nationally. Today I have my good friend here, Lydia Hawley, with us. Say hi, Lydia.
Hi, I'm Lydia.
She's gonna be my first person I'm interviewing for the day, because I have other people on my list that I have to get through. Now Lydia, she has expressed an interest a couple months ago here at our church. This is where we are at the moment. We're here at Live Church. She has expressed an interest to the congregants that she wants to pursue more of an interest in the political arena, which I felt like kind of stirred up something within the congregation, because a lot of people were coming up to you afterward asking you why you had that interest. Do you want to expound a little bit on that, on how you came to that conclusion, or did one day you just hear the voice of the Lord? How did that go for you?
Right, well, I would say this was pretty recent in my life. Like, I would say definitely in the past few years for sure.
Right.
But yeah, like you were saying, last year in July, I was having some conversations with several of the pastors.
Right.
And because they kind of, as I would talk to them, like we kind of started talking about different cultural and political things that were happening, like the current society, and then they started kind of realizing like, oh, like she really does seem to have like an interest in this.
Right.
And so I eventually was asked by one of the pastors, like, hey, like it was what we called the Freedom Sunday. It was like that first Sunday in July.
Right.
And so he's like, I'd love if you could just speak about like your passions to like enter the political sphere and what that looks like for you, and you know how passionate you are and where that came to be. And so that I feel like was one of those breakthrough moments where like I already knew I was interested in this, but I think it almost solidified and confirmed it, just because I was given an opportunity by my pastor. But I really do believe the Lord had his hand in that, because he probably saw the passions and desires of my heart, but then he allowed, you know, a door to be opened for me essentially. And so then I was able to have that door opened, and I was able to share, you know, my true feelings about all of this and how to bring it into the biblical and scriptural stances as well, to be able to talk from, you know, a church platform. So that makes it extra special that way. And so, you know, I've been able to find my voice in that truly, and then getting involved with Patriot TV and some of our other friends, Gen Z friends through there, has been really, really awesome.
No Filter Gen Z has definitely been something that her and I have been a part of. And then we also go on the Michelle show with Allie, open mic. So sometimes we get featured in as guests, which we both love to go on to. And we also have been we waved the flag when Trump was running as president, and he won. Thank you, Jesus. But yeah, so these are amazing things Lydia and we've been able to be a part of. Now, one thing I want you to just express to the listeners that will be tuning in at home, like, what's your desire in the educational realm? What do you want to pursue?
Right. So my major is currently in political science.
Right.
I kind of went into, because I'm in my sophomore year right now, still doing the general stuff, but I'm kind of on the cusp of getting more specific to my major.
Right.
I kind of went into it kind of thinking that I might go like the lawyer route.
Right.
But I think I've changed gears a little bit in that aspect. I definitely would like to further pursue a degree outside of a 4-year degree. So whether that be a master's program, law school, whatever that looks like for me. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I know that I would love to get involved in the political realm locally by maybe working at, you know, a local representative's office and getting my feet wet there to gain experience. And then honestly, the dream, really the end goal, I would love to be able to run, maybe locally or even federally, whatever the Lord has.
I could definitely see you doing that, because you're at your age, you're just very active. You're more active than even some adults, you know, and you're very brave too in speaking out for what you believe. And a lot of people our age don't have a backbone. They're scared to speak out because they're afraid of cancel culture, which is something that our generation faces a lot. Is, you know, when you stand up for something, there's a lot of backlash that happens. But I mean, we faced it too with a couple of our videos where they'll get like flagged or banned. Fact checkers per se. One more thing I wanted to also hone in is we're here around the coffee bar at the church. I know you also work here too, and I know you love your job because you make amazing lattes. Now, one thing, I have heard a rumor that our churches uses our funds to help with other organizations. Do you mind sharing a little bit of that with us?
Right, so all of our donations and everything that we make at the coffee bar goes to nonprofits. So it goes to organization within our church called Kingdom Builders. So essentially what they do is they take that money and they distribute it to nonprofits in need.
Right.
So essentially what that looks like.
Okay.
So yeah, all the money that we make, that's kind of what makes us special and what makes, having something where you can get coffee in a church unique and special. Like, you don't see that very many places at all.
True.
And so I think that's really awesome that we do that, and it really truly does act as a ministry for us. So we're able to spread the gospel through this and give to other nonprofits that are in need. And so you can definitely find out more information about that on our church website.
Is it livechurch.com?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
You listeners out there, if you want to get involved and if you want to donate to Kingdom Builders, go to Live Church, not Live page, livechurch.com if you want more information on that. And then one last thing, lady, I wanted to ask you, do you have like any last minute advice for Gen Z or anyone that may be pursuing the college route? What can you give them that they can be encouraged by?
I mean, I would truly say that prayer is a powerful thing. And if you're in a place where you're unsure of what you want to do and what you want to pursue, just know that it's okay to be in that place, because everyone has been in that place at some point in their life, and even after college, like, they may be still feeling those feelings if they're making career switches. And so I would definitely say prayer is a powerful thing, and don't be afraid to be bold in what you believe in and your passions and whatever that may be. I know we've had pastors talk about that at this church, about how working in your sphere, whatever God has called you to, do it with excellence and do it with passion. And don't be afraid to let others know about your passion, because there has to be people that are interested in the things that you are, because not everyone is interested in the same things. So I would say that's extremely important.
I love that, Lydia. That's very encouraging for me, even though I'm like 5 years older than you, but that's still very encouraging, knowing that sometimes it might take a little while for you to find your step, but when you do, just go hard and be brave and be loud and proud about it. Now you guys can see why I had Lydia join me today. She is an amazing young woman, and not just a young woman, but a woman of God. So that distinguish her from anybody else that I've met, and she's so passionate about God and so passionate about the political arena. I just want to say, first and foremost, Lydia, thank you so much for joining me on CCN, where we bring the news, not just locally, but also nationally. Thank you, guys. Bye.
This is Raj Dorsami with CCN News. Who decides the schedule for the confirmation of the new cabinet? What is the schedule? And what if they confirm Senator Rubio early? Who then takes his place? Well, the answer to this and other questions is what we'll tackle during this segment. Primarily, the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, has a massive influence on the schedule for Senate confirmations. No conversation about this topic would be complete, however, unless we tackle what we've been hearing about a lot these days, and that is recess appointments. What are recess appointments anyway? Well, recess appointments clause of Article 2 of the Constitution grants the President the authority to temporarily fill vacancies without Senate approval during recesses. However, it should be noted that the Supreme Court has weighed in on recess appointments and have actually ruled them as invalid when the Supreme Court thought it was being abused. Congress also has the ability to block recess appointments through something called pro forma sessions. So it remains to be seen how recess appointments will fit in the next few months. Now, although the Senate Majority Leader has a lot of influence, it is the Senate's role that actually provides what's called advice and consent on presidential nomination. And this is a responsibility granted to the Senate by the Constitution. This nomination includes cabinet positions, and it involves several steps. Number one, the Senate will appoint committees to conduct hearings on the nominees. These committees will then vote to refer these nominees up to the full Senate, and it's a full Senate that votes on the confirmation. Now, note that in the past, it's been very rare that a nominee appointed or selected or nominated by the president is outright rejected in a Senate vote. The last time this happened was in 1989 when George H.W. Bush's nominee for Secretary of Defense was thwarted among stories of excessive drinking and what was reported as womanizing. So, when will the confirmations take place? There are 3 stages. The first stage is called the pre-inauguration period. Senate committees may begin to hold hearings on some nominees before Inauguration Day, which is January 20th, 2025. The next stage, the next phase, is early confirmations. Some key positions, particularly national security-related roles, may be confirmed on or shortly thereafter Inauguration Day. And the third phase is called the extended process. Many confirmations are likely to extend well beyond Inauguration Day. Recent trends show a significant slowdown in the confirmation process. So, who do we think are the cabinet members that are most at risk? The ones that the media has thrown a lot of news or fake news or controversy around. At the top of that list is Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense nominee. Mainstream news has thrown out all kinds of information trying to allege controversy around allegations of sexual misconduct, financial mismanagement, and alcohol abuse. The nominee has vehemently defended his position and has criticized these allegations as being false and no longer relevant due to when the misconduct these allegations state took place. Second on the list is Tulsi Gabbard, nominated for the Director of National Intelligence. The controversy that's been thrown around her is scrutiny over her 2017 meeting with the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Third on the list is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been nominated for the Secretary of Health and Human Services. The concerns there are Robert F. Kennedy's skepticism towards vaccines. So it's clear that for the listening audience, that if you want to make sure that these nominees are successful, it is critical that you contact your senator and make sure that he or she knows of your wishes and your desires with regard to who you would like to get confirmed during this nomination process. Moving forward, who might be the committees that actually have the first hearings on these nominees? The Senate Armed Services Committee is likely to be the committee for Pete Hegseth. Within that committee, we think that Senator Joni Ernst, who's a Republican from Iowa, she has mentioned particular interest due to her combat veteran status and her efforts to combat military sexual assault. The other person that is likely to be vocal on this committee is Senator Kevin Grammer, Republican from North Dakota. He has expressed concerns about sexual assault issues in the military. Now, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence is likely to be the committee for Tulsi Gabbard. Specific members of this committee are not available, so we do not know who will be on that committee, but likely whoever they will likely be scrutinizing Gabbard's foreign policy positions and past meetings with controversial figures. So for you, the listening audience, do take every effort you can to make sure you're informed on these meetings so that you can weigh in with your senator and share with your senator your opinions and desires on the confirmation process and these nominees. So take this information. On your screen, you see the website where you can find out who your senator is. Contact your senator and make sure that your senator hears from you on what's important to you during this nomination process. Remember, the more people that voice their opinions on this matter and do so in an organized, intelligent, thoughtful way, the more likely the Trump agenda, if you're in favor of it, is likely to move through. Remember, although Trump is a president, he is one man, and our nation is governed by we the people, so it's imperative that we the people, that is you and I, step up and play our role in this process. Back to you, Michelle and Ali.
Hi, guys. In the Education Station segment, listen, we want to really urge you here at CCN to make sure that you stay involved on the local level. Local action equals national impact, right? Well, that takes place right there in the school boardroom. You got to get involved in your local school districts. Did you know? Starting January 6th, when everybody went back to school, Allie, the new speed zone cameras are coming into effect. So what they did is the law enforcement did a study, basically, of school speed zones. So this whole time we've been taking our kids to and from school, they have been monitoring you to see, are people driving way too fast through these speed zones? This is what their study found. They found that 45,000 people in this study had blazed through these school speed zones at 10 miles an hour above or more. That's a lot. 10 miles an hour. It is. You see this, usually the crossing guard, you see the kids, you've got the flashing yellow lights. Apparently that wasn't enough for a lot of us to slow down. So there are 6 schools here in the state in Sarasota County that are being affected by this. I know you said you're seeing this in your area too.
My son's friend was driving past a school near our house and ended up getting pulled over. He was doing 2 over the speed limit. The speed limit, I believe, is only 25 by the school, which I think is standard across the state. He was doing 2 over and ended up getting a ticket because of it.
A ticket
for going 2 over. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the Observer here in Sarasota County was reporting that I guess the protocol is supposed to be for the next 30 days. You will get, they'll give sort of a grace period where you'll get a warning, but it sounds like
they're already acting on it. I don't know. Maybe it's different for different counties. I would think that it would be blanket across the state because all of our sheriffs, they have like their own sheriff union in a way. So they kind of all operate under the same rules and regulations. So I don't know why it would be different for different counties, but it is very interesting.
And after the 30-day alleged grace period, they are going to institute a $100 citation. Guys, when you're actually thinking that you take your, whether it's your children or your grandchildren to and from school, that could add up if you're not really paying attention to that gas pedal. So listen, we want to always protect those that are most vulnerable here in our community. That's our youngest people, as well as your school bus drivers, the crossing guards. So let's take the foot off the gas.
Well, I hope that they also tell that to the bus drivers because I see a lot of bus drivers driving really fast down these roads. I'm just saying.
Just because you're in a big yellow bus doesn't mean you can do it. That's right. Guys, so make sure you slow it down, buckle up, and slow down around our school zones. And Allie, I love talking about this topic because as the Director of Civic Engagement for Moms for America, you guys were the first ones to lead people to understand that you've got to stay involved in the educational arena.
Well, you educate the children, so goes the soul of the nation. And if we are not plugged in and involved in our school districts, then how are we going to be able to move the needle or change the way our education system is working if we don't build those relationships? And how do you build those relationships, you may ask? Well, you have to go to your school board meetings. They watch them. You can watch them on YouTube
or sometimes they have their own website.
Them on the website or their own TV, your local channels that they play them on. I know Sarasota school board meeting is January 14th at 6 p.m. at 1960 Landing Boulevard. Manatee school board meeting is Friday, 1/17 at 3:30 p.m. How are people going to get off work to get there in time?
Teachers can't even make it there on time. 3:30, Manatee County. Come on, let's do better.
And that's at 215 Manatee Avenue on West Bradenton. And Hillsborough County School Board meeting is Tuesday, 1/14, so January 14th at 4 p.m. And that's at 901 East Kennedy Boulevard.
This is what's important when you show up to your school board meetings. First of all, I think you need to send an email.
Yes.
Everybody, whether you're going to a school board meeting or not, go to your local school district website, find out who your school board members are, and send them an email and let them know what things are concerning you. What things do you think they're doing well? What things can they improve on? Make sure you go on those local websites and download the agenda. What are they going to talk about during this upcoming meeting? And I know here in Sarasota County, Allie, we have to make sure that we get to those school board meetings at least 30 minutes early because you actually have the opportunity to speak. And what better way to address those that you've elected to represent you than to go to the meeting and speak? So you have to fill out a speaker card. If you have any questions, make sure you go to our website, coastalconservativenews.com. We've got a little play-by-play there on how to, maybe you've never been to a public meeting before, and we'll help walk you through how you can get to your local school district website and figure out how to go to those school board meetings and be a speaker.
Absolutely. Guys, it is so important for you to, like we said earlier, local action equals national impact, but you can't make the impact if you don't build the relationship. So you have to introduce yourself. Guys, we've had an election. The election was November 5th. So everybody that is currently sitting in office right now has been newly elected, whether they've been reelected or are fresh into the political arena or freshly sitting in their seat. Please introduce yourself to them. Write them a letter, go visit them, make an appointment to meet with them in their office. Just let them know who you are. You want to be recognized by name and by face so that you're able to build that relationship so that you can be seen as someone that is an ally, someone that is there to help them, whether it's understand their role of government, whether it's to understand their role of office, whether it's to help push positive legislation when it comes to schools. It would be more so positive policy, right? That affects our students and their education. If it's a city council or if it's a county commission, then that's to make sure that the things that are going on with as far as codes and regulations are concerned, that you're building those relationships with them as well. And as far as your state and your state senators and your state house representatives, you want to build those relationships as well, because you want to make sure that the laws that are being passed actually represent your values and do not obfuscate, right? Our state constitution or our national constitution.
Listen, here in the state of Florida, even though DeSantis had done he said, these mask mandates were not, well, we all knew they weren't constitutional. Right. But when he said that, executive order, we're not doing that here in the state of Florida, it was Sarasota County that defied that under the direction of Tom Edwards.
Did too.
Oh, you're right.
Yes.
Girl, that's why we're so angry up here. So that's why we really want to make sure that you keep your ear to the pulse of what's happening in your education system there within your district. Make sure that you attend these school board meetings.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, guys. And speaking of making sure that you are locally involved, right? We have a couple of other meetings that you can go to. You can go to Sarasota County Commissioner meeting is Wednesday, January 15th at 9 a.m. at 4000 South Tamiami Trail, Venice. Manatee County Commissioner meeting is Tuesday, January 14th at 9 a.m. at 1112 Manatee Avenue, West Bradenton. And Hillsborough County Commissioner meeting is this Wednesday, 1/15, January 15th at 9 a.m. And that is at 601 East Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa.
This is another important one. Listen, the county commission meetings, they can be long, right? They're 9 a.m. You show up at 9 a.m. They talk about different, obviously download the agenda. They talk about different topics throughout the day. Sometimes they wrap by 11. Sometimes they're there till 5. So you can kind of ebb and flow throughout the day for what part of the agenda you want to take part in. But again, you can also fill out a speaker card. You can be able to speak and address your county commissioners. Allie, this is where I hear a lot of people always talking about the overdevelopment that's happening here in a lot of parts of the state of Florida. This is where you're able to address those topics, your city and county commission meetings. So guys, make sure that you stay involved. That's going to be it for us, guys. Make sure that you check out our website, coastalconservativenews.com. Also, do you consider yourself to be a little bit of a, citizen journalist? Do you have a good idea for a news story? Are you somewhere where you see something and you want to say something? Make sure that you email Allie and I at contact@coastalconservativenews.com. Contact@coastalconservativenews.com. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thanks for joining.